where equality is just another euphemism for mediocrity, where participation is more highly valued than achievement, where just enough to get by is the new standard of excellence. There is a small minority of people who fight back against such apathy, who struggle daily to reach new heights. These brave few are the hope for the future, the bright shining light for the next generation. They are the ones who will lead us to the places we have never dreamed of, to the undiscovered country, to reach goals only a few can even begin to imagine. Unfortunately, none of those people could be here tonight, so kick back and relax. Prepare yourself for several hours of fun, friendship, fascinating conversation, and fabulous music. All those F's, that's an alliteration and kind of a radio trick. Speaking of radio, you're listening to the most popular radio station in the history of broadcast radio, at least among stations that originate from Chris's living room. It's Curious Times. Your host is a curious listener. Here she is, Chris.
Alrighty then. Hey everybody, welcome to Curious Times. It's Monday. I don't like Mondays. May 21st. Wow, what another week, and then it's the May long weekend, and then we're almost halfway through the year, you know what I mean? That's crazy fast. Crazy fast. So, poof, May gone. Blink, and that's the end of that. So here's what's happening. Of course, Dianna Monroe is here tonight. Hopefully you guys have some paranormal questions or paranormal experiences to share. Tomorrow we're off. It's because it's there's 5 Tuesdays, and so I have Lisa for the first and third, and I have Melissa for the second, and I have Nick for the last Tuesday of every month, and so then I've got this 4th Tuesday this month that has slot. So Kathleen is here on Wednesday. Thursday, Silva has switched over her Friday show to Thursday. Every now and then we'll be doing that to accommodate her schedule. But we're going to leave them for Fridays unless she needs to switch them to Thursdays. Friday we're off. Saturday, Corrine de Winter. Sure. And then we got a couple of more days off, and then Nick Fox is here on the 29th. So that's what's coming up in the next little while here. And so Diana's here. She's a psychic medium. She's a paranormal investigator, and she does healing work as well. She does have a website. You can go find out more, read her blog, and find some interesting stuff there at www.psychicfrontier.com. And so let's give a warm welcome to the next contestant on Curious Time. How's it going, Diana?
It's good. How's it going for you? Sounds like you're moving a little slower than usual today.
I have had some, it blew my back out last week, and so it's been, and then yesterday it was just about real good, like I could stand up, like without it taking 5 minutes and some pain, and then I slept, and, see, sometimes it's good that I only sleep a couple hours at a time, because it doesn't give stuff time to stiffen up on me, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so anyways, I slept for a few hours and woke up and it was all wrecked again, like it was just like all stiff again. And so, but it's slowly but surely, it's coming on. And it's just that my car is kind of really hooped right now, and so it means I'm kind of walking to the store, which, you know, on normal, I don't have a problem. Normally, it's the only exercise I get, and so, but lugging crap back, you know what I mean? And so, anyhow, I've been out of milk for, I don't know, over a week or something now. So milk is my only under extreme duress will I have milk in my coffee, you know what I mean? Like I ran out of cream 2 weeks ago. And so now moving out of milk, and now I'm down to using coconut oil, and I'm almost out of coconut oil now. So.
This coconut oil has all kinds of healing properties in it.
Well, coconut oil is healing, and it's good for you and everything like that. If I had unsalted butter, that I only have salted butter, and that would taste like crap. But people they call it like this. People use the coconut oil and some butter in their coffee. And then people go, butter. I'm like, well, think about it. What was butter before it became butter? Oh, it was cream.
Yep.
And so, I did do a little video a few years back when I discovered this coconut oil thing. I was absolutely amazed that you could take some coconut oil, which is, clear in its liquid state and white in its solid state, and you could put that into some coffee and then put it in a blender, and suddenly it takes on the appearance as though there's cream in it, color-wise, and that, mystified me beyond, and half of the thing is even though I put a lid on my cup and everything like that, I don't really see what I'm drinking, and it sort of loses a little bit of that effect as it sits. But half the battle for me is just that color change. You know what I mean? And it gives a bit of a different taste, but it's passable if you haven't got. I never have been able to become accustomed to just black coffee. You know what I mean? It's just something about it not working for me. Not working. Anyway, what's going on with you?
Well, I'm trying to round up. We had a couple jobs, I thought, for the paranormal, clearing some houses and things like that. And now the thing is just trying to get it scheduled and get everyone in town at the same time. It starts to turn warm here and everybody scatters.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, this is where you have to, I guess, sometimes go with part of a team. You know what I mean? I'm sure each of you guys is capable on your own of clearing energies, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's not the issue. We just, between all of us, we don't have that many pieces of equipment yet. So I kind of like to, give it our best shot with both sides, the equipment and our psychic abilities and the clearing that we do on our own. Plus, some people need the props,
Yeah,
it's not. Do mystical fair. They want the tarot cards, or you know what I mean.
Yeah. Which wants a wand? A witch needs a wand, or I always say, the magic is not in the wand, you guys. The magic is in the person, and the wand focuses that, perhaps. However, the magic is not in the wand, notwithstanding what Harry Potter says, And similarly with, sometimes people use the tarot cards for the benefit of the other person, because some people feel like there has to be something concrete, you know what I mean? And so the person getting the reading, and so that they can see where that's coming from, at least, And others they need that to set them off in the direction, perhaps, of topic of query, and whatever works for everybody, I guess, right?
Definitely, whatever you're comfortable with.
Mhm. But a lot of times, people, once they, if they are readers of cards, but their main skill is actually being psychic. Once they can gain that confidence to just toss the cards aside, they're usually a lot more effective, and they're usually happier with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think especially too, if you have the desire and the time to make up your own cards, I think you're going to relate most with them. Not necessarily tarot cards, but whatever divination cards you are drawn to make. I think that it's always good to use too.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So I saw this. I wish I could remember what the title was. Some kind of movie the other day, yesterday maybe. And it was really interesting movie. And I guess why I turned to it was because it was about a little boy or something like this that had these mysteriously kept coming back to life after near death and whatnot, and that there was some paranormal component to it, and so as the story develops, the kid is really in a coma basically, and he's in that place of between death and life, and as is his father, and so as you find out, later on that it's the mother has been basically the one that's been causing his near-death experiences, and on this last occasion, the mother basically pushed the father over the edge of a cliff. So this is what caused his death, and then the boy followed, and so there had been this communication between the boy and the father on the other side, essentially. But then at the same time, there was this doctor guy who suddenly was starting to basically channel the boy, and that added quite a whole different dimension to it. Eventually, the boy came back to life, and they found out what the mother had been doing, so the mother wound up thinking. But it's one of those where they kind of end it there, so you don't get to see the satisfaction of the woman going to jail or, anything like that.
Oh, bummer. Yeah, I like it when the person gets killed off or something like that.
Like when the bad guy, has been dealt with effectively. But I thought that was kind of interesting, because what was happening was that there was like some notes were starting to appear, and so as upon further investigation by the doctor himself, he saw that he wrote one of these notes, and he picks up on it because he went back with some video, like for some surveillance video in the room, and blah blah blah, and there he was writing this note with his left hand, and he's not left-handed, and all this kind of thing. And so then the psychiatrist that had been seeing the boy before winds up sort of putting the doctor into hypnosis, and this is where he starts to channel the boy. And he basically takes on the persona of the boy, and he didn't ever meet the boy before. You know what I mean? Like, he's only known the boy since the boy's been unconscious in hospital. And so he was like talking in the same manner and whatnot that the boy would be talking, and so that was kind of a neat little twist to things there.
Is that a newer movie or older one?
I don't know. It was like on, it was on like the movie channel. I wish I would have written down what the name of it was. Really, and there wasn't any notable actors or any. It's like maybe a B-grade movie or something like that. But it was still pretty good storyline wise.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, and aside from that, I saw that new movie, The Black Panther.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I did like it. I did. And I saw it. Somebody gave me a link, and I wish I could find it now. I'll have to ask the person again for that link. For some site where you can watch TV and movies for free. And I was like, is that a safe site? You know what I mean? And so it seemed safe. Like, I tried to run it through the antivirus and all this kind of stuff. And so anyways, I watched the movie online, and it was good. It was good. Of course, I really like that actress that's in it because she's from The Walking Dead. She's the one that, why does my brain go blank on me? She's the one that plays the chick that does the samurai sword. Why can't I? Oh my God, are you kidding me right now? We watched the show for like 12 seasons or something ridiculous like this, and now I can't come up with her name. But anyway, she's quite a great actress actually, and she's doing very well all of a sudden for herself. So it was a good movie. I think it's already on Blu-ray and everything, so it's moved through quickly because I don't think it was that long ago that it was in theaters.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. It was out there a little bit longer than some of them, at least in this area, because I know sometimes movies, even if they're playing kind of well, not overwhelming, but, you know, they're not getting rated horribly and people are still going to it. They still might only be here in this area for 2 or 3 weeks. And I know what was the name of it? Black Panther?
Black Panther?
Yeah, it was out for, I think, at least a couple months here.
Oh, wow.
Because people kept going to it.
Yeah. It's good. Ouch. Good movie. I'm not one that goes to movies anymore, you know what I mean? And so I have to spend so much money on cable TV and internet that I'm like, any movies I'm watching, I'm watching the ones I already paid for. You know what I mean?
There you go. Yeah.
And so there is something to be said one of these days soon about forgetting about TV and just go with the online experience. And as soon as I can get I think there's a cord you can get that you can attach your TV to your computer. And once I can do that, then it makes more sense for me to try and do something like that, and just catch whatever I can catch online, and try and bring my costs down a little bit. They're getting a little bit crazy with their cable TV costs, you know.
I don't know. I haven't had it for a while, so that was the main reason I didn't have it. It was just too expensive. I thought I'm not going to watch it for what they're asking for. I won't watch it that much.
Yeah. I mean, I have some must-dos though. Like, you know, you get your little addictions, and so like, you know, I've been like following. Now I know that General Hospital I can find on YouTube pretty quickly. More recent, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now on days I haven't been that lucky, and so if I could find a way to make sure that I don't miss Days for Our Lives and General Hospital, then then probably the rest I could be okay with. Although, you know, like there's a couple of others. Like when you follow a series for so long, you know what I mean? Like The Walking Dead and whatnot. Like then all of a sudden it would be kind of crappy to not be able to see it. And The Handmaid's Tale, wow. Like, that's crazy. That I know I've spoken about it before, but it's like very crazy. Anybody, if you can find it online somewhere, if you don't get it on your, well, Hulu is a problem for Canada. Like, there's a lot of the stuff that, even if there's I'm not even sure if there's Hulu.ca, but you can't get most of the American stuff on the Canadian Hulu, and they're really wise to that. There was something I desperately wanted to see, and so they're very wise to people doing the VPN and the backdoor, the IP address blockers and all that kind of thing, and they're really, really pretty good at filtering those ones out, which is sad because there's a lot of people that travel, you know what I mean? And so, like, if you're an American and you've got your Hulu and then you're, like, on business in Canada, you want to be able to watch, you know, your stuff, and there's a problem with it if you're accessing it from Canada. It's stupid, you know? By now, come on. What the hell? Why does there have to be any line between the Canada and the United States and entertainment-wise? You know what I mean? TV-wise. It's ridiculous. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. So, there have been some times though, like, cause we're a little bit stricter in Canada about, current crime, like any criminal cases that are still under active investigations or cases in court. And so, for as an example, who was the guy, Dianna, with his wife, that killed, oh my God. Okay, husband and wife, Canada, killers, Carla Homolka and Paul Bernardo. And, I used to have court TV, and so anytime that court TV was showing something that was banned in Canada due to legal reasons, they would block it out on me. And so anytime that they were doing anything in the States on the court TV channel to do with the Bernardo and Homolka case, that was always blanked out for me. So there's that. We're a little bit stricter, I guess, about what can go on TV, court, regarding true crime court cases and that kind of stuff, especially if they're not fully done with. But anyway, so I don't know. What should we talk about?
Well, let's see. I'm pretty open. Like I said, I'm really hoping to do a paranormal investigation here pretty soon. It's just finding one where we can get it all set up. Has anyone else had any experiences? Maybe they haven't done a paranormal investigation, but just experienced anything, kind of creepy or ghost thump in the night and you didn't really see what was going on? Anyone have any stories they want to share on that end?
I know, and I told people, I've told people last night, you know what I mean? Call in, help us out. And I see nothing. He was back in court last week, Diane? What the hell is he looking for? What was he looking for? Parole hearing? Was it a parole hearing? No. Why was Paul Bernardo.
That case is still ongoing?
Convicted killer, blah, blah, blah. He's supposed to have been, he's been charged with possessing a weapon in prison. Huh. Okay. So there you go. He's continuing to be a criminal inside of jail. I'm surprised somebody hasn't gotten to him and killed him. There's Diane, he made a shank. And she's up on the jailhouse lingo. So he's being a bad boy in prison. I went to look at a farm. From Rachel. I went to look at a farm in a remote area, and unknown to me, the son was killed on the farm. I walked into the son's bedroom, and I saw the ghost of him laying on the bed. Next thing I know, he's standing in front of me, asking me why it is that I could see him. Wow, that's awesome.
That's cool.
And what did you tell him? Because I have eyes, dummy. No, I'm kidding. That's very cool. I don't know. You said I don't know. Wow, and did he hang around for a while and it freaked me? Yeah. Well, was that your first time? Why don't you call in and let's talk about it? He followed you back home. Interesting. If you can,
call us. Tell us more.
Yeah, she's going to call in with that. So that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. I like to drill down on that one. And if he followed you home, like, I don't think that's bad. He's like going, oh my God, there's somebody I can I have a friend.
Yeah,
you know
might
what I mean?
be really curious because let's face it, the people that can see the spirits out of body like that are in the minority still.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least according to those who will talk about it.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't hear Mitchell talking about it.
No worries. I'll play a song. Take your time. Tell her, can you guys explain in the chat, like, I think she knows, like, click the headset, upper left, and then I'll play a song and we'll try and help her get this, sorted out. Sounds like a very interesting, very interesting, experience. Here, let's do this, it's been a while. All right. That was bad. Sorry. Sorry. Okay, Rachel's still having a problem. Mic issues and sound issues. Okay. Okay. Do you have Skype? And now she can't even get. Why not get your speaker sound back? At least.
Huh.
Just refresh. Just refresh. And I didn't notice if she refreshed at all. I think refreshing would have maybe helped. Refresh. She's not refreshing. Not refreshing. Well, now she can't hear us either, is the problem. So that's not helpful. We can't even get her story by via typing now. So that's unfortunate. Somebody keep telling Rachel in the chat room to refresh. Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Michael. What a good guy that Michael is, you know? What a good guy that Michael is. Okay, well, we're going to have to just keep going, I guess, and wait and see if something happens with Rachel. Because she's just in no man's land right now. She can't hear us at all, so I can't even help her. Oh, there, she's got her sound back. So, Rachel, you don't have Skype? No Skype? You could do a free Skype call. No Skype. And do you have a long distance package? Could you make a free long distance call? By telephone? And that's okay. If not, we'll just have to do without, I guess. Unfortunately, we'll catch the story another time. Sounds so cool, though. Would enjoy talking with you about that. Just getting it sorted now. Okay, she's getting it sorted now. All right. But yeah, I'm thinking that the little kid is like just beyond ridiculously excited that he's got somebody that can notice him. He's being noticed, you know. That happens with a lot of spirits, if I understand.
Oh, they get real excited. You know, you see them.
Kind of suggests to me though that he might be earthbound and he might need a little hand crossing over. I'm highly suspicious that he's maybe earthbound. And, you know, every earthbound spirit isn't a bad spirit, you know. Some people have a negative connotation they give to earthbound, but, you know, he's just stuck for whatever reason. And, I would think if he had crossed over that, you know what I mean? Here's my rationale. If he crossed over and he's just back visiting, then he would be more aware of, you know, he'd be more aware. I just don't think he's crossed over. I think he's kind of earthbound. He's not, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, he's not either sure how to get there or he's afraid or something. Or there's something holding him there. You know what I mean? Dead air. Can you hear me, Dianna?
Yeah.
I'm kind of talking to you too, eh?
Well, I'm having some technical issues myself, and I'm trying to get in with you online. And she was calling me right away. I'll see if I can get in on IntuiTalks. I have a computer that I think is repaired that has a camera, but it's not as repaired as what I guess.
Okay. All right. Because I do see you in the chat room and on the phone. You know what I mean? I do see you in the chat room with your Dianna account.
Yes, we're talking through the phone. I signed in, and then I realized that I was getting sound from a new computer that I can't turn down, and so I was getting double feedback from the phone and the computer.
Okay. Because you're still in the chat room. That's kind of what you are. You're in the chat room somehow, whether or not.
Right. I did sign in successfully there, but now I'm trying to get on a different computer where I sound and the visual going.
I see. I'm not sure if Rachel's in the States or not. So, like Diane, nobody's filled them in, nobody's clued them in yet on. Well, I think that there's certain things once you cross over that you just know. Then again, you're back to your higher self, and you know all that stuff. You know, and this is why I feel like that he's earthbound. If he's excited about somebody being able to see him and notice him, then that, I don't know, I could totally be wrong about it. And maybe he is just visiting and he just didn't realize. But I think they kind of know, and a lot of times, spirits will go to the ones that they know can communicate with them. Because otherwise, it's a waste of their damn time to come to someone like me. That's why I always say, ghosts that want to try to haunt me, they're all like, well, this is boring, she doesn't notice us. Let's go get somebody that we can, okay, there's Rachel. Let's go get Rachel. Hey, Rachel.
Hi, how are you?
Oh,
Can
good,
you hear me?
good. So,
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Rachel,
Fantastic.
yes. So this sounds like a very fascinating story.
Yeah, well, my mum and dad, as you know, I live in Australia, and my mum and dad live in a wheat belt town called Tambalup. And we were farming in the southwest here, and we just wanted some more land. So mum and dad suggested we go and have a look at this farm out where they are because it's good land. So we went out there and went around the farm, and the guy said, oh, do you want to have a look at the house? And I said, oh, all right, we'll go and have a look. And a bit reluctant. And before I even got to his bedroom door, I just, because I'm not psychic, I don't have the gifts you all have, but I just had this flash of a boy a teenager laying on the bed, and I opened the door, and there he was in his flannelette shirt and denim jeans, which is what the farm boys wear over here, and he was laying on his bed, and it looked like he was crying. I also knew that since he'd been, what I found out later on was since he'd been killed, his mum would go away a lot, so she was never there. So it was almost like he was looking for her. I don't know, but then the next minute I know he was standing in front of me, and he said, so why is it you can see me? And he was so desperate to know. And when I came out of the bedroom, the real estate agent said, oh, I meant to tell you, you're not allowed to go in there. No one's allowed in there, which I thought was interesting. Yeah. And then so I started to investigate. I went back to mum and dad's, and I said, oh, this is what I saw. I told my mum. And so then a lady that worked for my parents who knew the family, she told me that he'd been killed on the farm in a tractor accident. And so it was like he was always trying to I just got the sense he was always trying to communicate with his dad, who was always home. Couldn't understand why his mum was never there all of a sudden. That's just the impression I got. And then he seemed to, we live 2 hours away, 200 k's away. So he virtually, he came home with us. The next morning he shook me awake, and like I say, I don't see anything. And he was saying, are you going to buy my mum and dad's farm or not? And I was so freaked out. I just thought, let's just for something else. So we found something a bit more closer to home. But I just couldn't put any of my kids in that bedroom, knowing that he was there and confused. And it sounds like since his parents have sold the farm that other people aren't lasting there very long. So I don't know if he's still there.
And now, here, if anything like that were to happen to you again, you know what I mean? Or if that boy comes back to you, now how long ago did this happen?
I think this must have happened around 2007, so we're talking 11 years ago.
Okay, so chances are that he's probably not going to come bug you again. But if to me, I was thinking that, to me, it sounded like he was kind of earthbound, kind of stuck. And, in which case, perfect opportunity for anybody. In my opinion, anybody can do this, with a pure heart and good intent is to just help the boy or ask angels or ask whoever can help. That's for the higher good. Whoever can help this boy cross over, please come and help him cross over. And then tell the boy, don't be afraid to go with, the angels or whoever, and, all of your loved ones are there waiting for you, and that kind of thing. And I would also add, you can come back anytime you want and visit, to your house, or, don't worry that if you cross over that you can't ever come back. But then, it'll be better for you if you cross over, right? And so that would be an opportunity, right there to, help the poor kid, really. Because I think he was just so excited that somebody could notice him then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get the idea that there was anything. I mean, I understand your reluctance to bring your kids there and all that kind of stuff, but like I kind of think like that the kid was, would have benefited by it, and you guys could have helped him, perhaps, like they say, cross over. But everything happens, and maybe he has found his way to the other side by now. You've had no other experience other than him coming to you to ask you if you were going to buy their house or their farm?
I never had another experience after that. Once I said to him, because I spent a whole day looking at all the figures and assessing everything, and I actually turned around to him and said, look, I'm not going to buy it. I think I'll just stay here. This is my home. I think I'll just stay put. So he seemed to disappear, but there was something burning, almost something burning inside that you had to try and get it out. And at that stage, I hadn't learnt to play the guitar. I always wanted to, but I actually wrote a song about it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then a couple of years later, I learnt the guitar and I've, put the music to the song, and I play it from time to time. But no, I never had him come back at all. But then I did have another experience. I can't remember if it was before that or after that. I'd found some beautiful antique spoons in a antique shop, and I was polishing them late one night after everyone had gone to bed, and someone appeared, an older gentleman appeared in my kitchen, which freaked me out a bit. They obviously belonged to him. But it was quite funny because it was like rubbing the genie bottle and someone appeared. But but yes, I was just polishing these set of spoons, and yeah. But no, that's all that's happened to me. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. How about dreams? Have you ever had any pretty vivid dreams of anything?
Before it happens? Yeah. I've had a few of those. Yeah. I mean,
go ahead.
When I was a teenager, I kept having this dream that I was because we lived next door to the hospital, and my granddad wasn't very well at the time, and he was in and out. And I kept having this dream that I was walking up to the back side door where we could zip in to see him, and I kept falling into this ditch. And then one day I actually noticed that there was a ditch there. And I didn't actually fall into it, but it was always this constant fear that I would, because it was quite deep, I noticed, that I would fall and hurt my ankle. I had that. It was just something stupid, really. Another one was I kept having a dream I was falling off a white horse, and then I went horse riding at a friend's farm one day and ended up on it was a white horse, and I actually fell off it and hurt my hip. But yeah, so sometimes I will have a dream. I mean, lately I think, just so busy and preoccupied with life, probably don't take much notice of them. But it does freak me out sometimes when that does happen. You have a dream and then you think, oh my God, you do something one day and you think, I dreamt that. I don't know exactly when, but you know that you have dreamt that or whatever. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
See, just the thing is, and sometimes, so you could have a premonition dream, right, which could possibly the white horse thing. But then the hospital one in the ditch, I'm not entirely convinced that you weren't astral traveling and that it was a real thing, not a dream, you know what I mean? And,
yeah, because many years later, after, my granddad had passed away and I wasn't going to the hospital, just as you fall asleep, that would suddenly come back to me, and I would jump in bed. Do you know what I mean? And make sure that right leg didn't fall down. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's.
Whenever you have a sudden jerk in bed like that, it's a good chance that you're either you're in the process of leaving your body and then you snap back in, or you're returning and you're coming in for a crash landing. And often, I think more often than not, what it is, especially if it's during that time when you're just going down, is that you're almost out and then something happens, somewhere that snaps you back in. And it's an almost, lift off, but not quite. So that's really interesting. If that ever happens again, you know what I mean? Don't be afraid to try, and I always put great trust in my team, and my team I call guardian angels, guides, totem animals, whoever happens to be with me, you know what I mean? My whole posse. And I put a lot of faith in them that they're going to be taking care of me spiritually, you know what I mean? And so what a great opportunity though to I'm sure, because it's easier for me to sit here, you know what I mean, and say, oh well, you should this or you should that, but possibly and probably if I were ever in that moment, my brain would probably go, you know what I mean, and I would probably miss the opportunity to because I would, if I were in my right mind and I was solid and everything like this, then, and not taken off guard, there's so many questions that I'd love to ask, and you know what I mean?
I see what you're saying, because they're right there at that moment. Yeah.
So many, questions about the great mystery, about everything. First I would want to know about that spirit. Did you cross over? Have you, are you just come visiting back, or have you been here ever since you're what happened? And, have you ever left? And then do you want to, and then if they say no, do you want to leave? Do you want to go to the other side and be with everybody and knowing that you could come back anytime you want and blah, blah, blah. I can help you with that. But then all these other questions, do you see other spirits? Are there, are you, because I acknowledge he's going how can you see me? So he can clearly tell that you're a live person, human being. And so then I would wonder, does he have any other, earthbounds that are around, or have there been any other interactions that he's having, you know what I mean? Or is he just so painfully lonely? You know what I mean? But like, if I could find any spirit that I could communicate with, right? That is not something that I've ever had. And, there would be so much that I would want to, try to find out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Going to win the Super Bowl. I'm just kidding, but,
We're not into the Super Bowl over here.
I know. But you know what I mean, right? Like,
I know. Yeah, see how much they actually know. Yeah.
What you invest in the stock market in? You know what I mean? Or but it would take like a real serious presence of, you know, mind, and when you're being taken off guard like that, I'm sure that, because even in real life, right? Like, we've all had times where we've had some kind of an incident that has happened, whether it's been like an argument that popped up at work or what, and then like way later on we're all like, oh, I should have said blah, and I should have said this, and I should have said that. But in that moment, we were kind of like, it wasn't happening for us because, you know, maybe we were taken off guard with that argument or whatever. But so I can only imagine that if we're talking about like a spirit that would even be tenfold. You know what I mean? Like that effect.
Absolutely.
Would be. Just, Dianna, what do you got on your mind about that? Dianna. Hello. She's still showing up there. Yeah, there you are. Yeah.
I just have a feeling he's still going to come back at some time, and I don't know if it's because he's curious or what, or I've just had similar experiences, and I know other people who said they've had a spirit talk to them and ask questions, and then years later, it's like they come back, because sometimes I think they don't feel it's resolved yet, you know, why they can't do it the first time.
Yeah. I actually went to the cemetery in Tamblut looking for him, looking for his grave. I couldn't actually find it, and I didn't want to go into the Shire and ask, because it's a small town and they'd all want to know why you were looking. So I didn't. But, I did, you know, sneak up there and try and find out what was going on, to see, you know, because people weren't 100% sure what his name was that I spoke to him. I think it was Grant. Not sure. Just so that, you know, I could talk to him better. But, it was just it just freaked me out a bit, as I said. But, so that'll be interesting to see if he does come back.
But I got to give you kudos, because there's probably a lot of others, and look, none of us really know what. It's almost like when I was younger, and everybody was like, if anybody ever tried to attack me, I would do this or I would do that. And you find in life that you know that you don't know what your response is going to be until you're in that situation. And some people who say, I would kick them in the nuts and I would do this and that, and like they freeze. You know what I mean? Or ones that we think are like the wimpiest of wimpiest, you know, go death mode, you know, beast mode on, you know, on their attacker, and you know, so they become a very fierce fighter, and none of us can really say until we've been in that position how our response would be. And so, you know, you get some kudos, because, you know, you didn't like just run freaking out and like, because that would have scared him away too, you know what I mean? And you did have, you know, some communication, and that's very impressive to me, you know what I mean? Like that, that tells me you really do have the gift, and it's a question of that you're not really, whether you're interested in it or not, you know what I mean? Like that you're not, you know, tapping into that
probably not tapping into it. I'm certainly interested in it all. Yeah, and the thing that got me was the next morning when he woke me up, because he physically grabbed hold of both shoulders and shook me until I woke up.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
That would be startling.
It was.
Yeah.
And, you know, my husband was fast asleep and he was saying, get up. And so I couldn't see him, but I could feel him. And, you know, so he was there with me all that next day. Like, yeah.
Wow.
So that,
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it was very interesting.
He really wanted you to buy the farm, and because he felt good around you, you know what I mean? Like he felt he felt good with you there, and you know, probably probably in your case, had you bought that property, like that you wouldn't have been chased away. You know what I mean? Like maybe others have been, and he's looking for the right but you know, here's my opinion on this, and whether you choose to try this or not, my opinion on this is that even at this point, like if you sat down and wanted to connect with this kid and send him to the other side or help him cross to the other side if he hasn't, then you could do that just simply through your intent and your thoughts and prayer or whatever way works for you. You wouldn't have to directly consciously be, you know, I think that you could send that request out to the universe and if he's willing, it's kind of like Reiki in a way. Like I can send Reiki out and it's the energy itself is the intelligence, and the universe and the energy itself, they know what they're doing. All I have to do is send it on its way. And after that, I'm done with it. And so you could send your thought and your intent on the way. That the angels or the creator or his own family who's on the other side, that somebody there could help him cross over if they haven't already done so. And then send a message to the boy that it's okay and it's safe to go with them to the light, and that he could still come back. And you could do all of that just through your thoughts and your intent, and see, and it might, and then whether you get to know whether it worked or not is a totally different story. The way you might find out is that if suddenly that property sells to somebody and it winds up being somebody stays long term, you know what I mean? And that in itself might be an indication that it's worked. But, you know, if you're interested in doing that, I don't think any harm can come to you for that. And you know, it might be worth trying.
Definitely, I will. Yeah, no, I will. Very good.
And if you do, notice if you notice anything, and because you never know, you may connect psychically to the boy, and you may not. You know, like I say. Like with Reiki, once I send Reiki, like I don't even go and ask the person afterwards. So, did it work? You know, like I send it and then forget all about it. And it's not I always say I take no credit and I take no blame. And I do my part by sending it and after that, I don't think about it again, you know? And so, but if he makes his presence known to you, or, you know, you might get something like, thank you, you know, like who knows, you know what I mean? Like you just might, and that would be some kind of sign to you that he made it.
Yep.
You know, and what a great gift for both of you if that were to be able to happen, you know?
Yeah, that's right. Another interesting thing that happened around that time, the lady I spoke to, that worked for my mum and dad, she had just lost her son in a car accident a few years before then, and she was wanting me to go to her house to see if I could see her son. And I said to her, I'm so freaked out by this. I'm not the type of person you need. Because I didn't know what to do with it. And I said, you know, you're probably better off to find someone who is really in tune, whereas I'm not really in tune with it. But she knew this kid that had passed away, and then of course her son had passed away as well. And they were just, two, you know, the last two kids that had been tragically lost in the town due to accidents. But yeah, so I mean that was lovely of her to put that faith in me. But I just said to her, I think you need to find someone else to get that closure.
Also, though, if that's the case, because what you want to make sure, and in case this ever happens to you in the future, because you never know, like, when things are going to expand and start to move for you, but is there are people out there that, you know, use mediums and whatnot to excess, and it's not healthy for them or for the crossover one, you know what I mean, for the one that they lost, in that they're in this desperation of having somebody be, because then, like, what I just got this sudden feeling that if you had gone over and connected with her son, it would be relentless. Like, she would be wanting to rely on all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, okay.
It could be very obsessive on their part. Some people can't let go of their loved ones, and especially right after they've died. The physical body's gone, and I understand that. But like Chris said, I think it can hold them back or otherwise, you know, not serve them well if the family just keeps wanting to go through you all the time to do that. It can get obsessive.
Yeah.
I don't think it really serves anyone.
Well, the boy I saw, his dad went into Mum and Dad and said, can you tell me why she's not interested in our farm? And Mum said to me she couldn't bring herself to say, well, she saw your son.
Right.
And so Mum and Dad just said, I just don't think it's the right time for them. They thought about it hard. They just don't want to move the whole family over here. And Dad went about it that way. But, yeah, and I was worried about what questions the parents would ask me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Had they known. And like you say, and this other lady, yes, she definitely would have been obsessive because she couldn't let go. It was too raw at the time, far too raw for her. Yes, you're right there. You're definitely right there.
Yeah, so it's good actually that, you know, see, like, there's no accidents, you know what I mean? And so that your experience had left you, and that was a responsible thing for you to do. I know other people, if they even thought that they, you know, if they would feel some sense of importance about themselves then, you know, somebody wants me to come over to their house and if I, you know, I'm needed for something, you know what I mean? And then that wouldn't be right either, you know, and so you handled that very well, and as it turns out, you know, it's probably the best for everybody concerned, you know, that happened the way that it did. That was a really good way for you to answer her too, you know, which is to say, no, I'm not the person, like it didn't, it wasn't, you know, it wasn't like going to the carnival for me, you know what I mean? And so that's good. So that, I think, like, pay attention and see if you do that, if you get any kind of sign at all, you know, that some kind of sense of feeling that he's gone, and that you helped him to find his way, and that would be amazing. And I think if you did, like, and you just start to, you know, I don't know if you're interested, you know, like, I mean, it's all about where, you know, like, there's each person, I guess, in their own time, if they're meant to develop the ability and become stronger with it and more proficient, then they will, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you are interested in doing that, then, you know, then you spend a little bit of time each day focusing your intent on that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And,
yep.
And just
don't be surprised if maybe another spirit would come to you just because, I mean, who knows what the reason is. Maybe the colors in your aura are comfortable to that spirit.
Yeah.
You know, but your intuition's always going to guide you. You know, does it feel comfortable to me to talk to the spirit or not? And you'll know.
Okay.
And you'll do whatever is best for you. Your intuition will guide you.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Thank
so
you.
neat. I'm so happy that you shared that with us. That's a good story.
Yes,
I think that's
thank you
a good,
for calling us.
No worries.
good one. Thank you. And keep us up to date, of course, if anything more should happen.
Yeah, I will. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Okay.
Rachel.
Thank you.
Take it easy. All right. So it looks like we got Diane in Canada here. Diane's always got some excellent stories. So, now, Diana, are you able to see the chat room? Yes, no?
Not at the moment, no. I've got the technical issues right now. I'm still plugged into it, but I can't see the chat board. I apologize.
No, that's too bad. Okay. Hi, Diane. How's it going?
Good, Chris. How are you?
Good. I was going to put your pictures up for Diana to see. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I still can't figure out what they are. It was just like I was saying. I decided there was a cat walked up to the dog and was smiling. That was the funny part. And I flashed, and he turned his head away. So I flashed again, and by about the very last one, that was where that misty thing was. But then the one prior to that, you noticed there was something like it was coming up the stairs or something. I'm like, oh my gosh. Anyway, similar story to what that lady was saying earlier just now. I was living like outside of Toronto, in the outskirts, in an area actually where it was actually in an old war house in 2011 to almost middle of 2012, going into 13, and shortly after I moved in, this guy appears at the side of my bed. It was like, what the heck? And I'm like, what's going on? So anyway, I sort of went, sort of ignored it the first night because I thought I'm probably just seeing things. I just moved here. I'd been up for like 3 days unpacking and stuff, and painting the door was a mess and whatever, trying to fix it. And he appeared again the next night, and he started talking to me, and he was saying, can you help me? And I'm like, okay. Then I sort of talked to him mind-to-mind kind of thing, but then I sort of went, what do you want? And I sort of asked him if he would go to the light, if he wanted help to go to the light, because I'd done that, not fully aware, but earlier, when I was younger. So, heck was it? Then he disappeared, I think that same night, and he reappeared, and he showed me how he died. He actually had a hole in the side of his neck where he put a gun to the side of his head, basically. And so I went, okay, and then I was really looking at him, and I assessed roughly, I don't know if it was just mind to mind, but that he died in the 70s. He had like a mullet type hairdo. Remember those, spiky and long at the back? And by his clothes, it was definitely the 70s. So one time I got really calm because I'm sitting on the bed thing, and he's appeared to me again. It was usually in the evening. And he said to me, I can't go because I want you to ask my grandmother to forgive me for what I did, And I said, well, could you go to the light, because I don't know where your grandmother is. And he says, she just lives down the street. So I'm like, oh, my God. So then he told me his name. And for a few days, I just left it because I'm like, but then I did look in the phone book. It's not too often you have a phone book. I got a hold of a phone book in town, looked up the name, and she was 2 doors away on the corner. I'm like, oh, my God. So I looked into her house. See, this is Bible Belt, like in that area. And a lot of Quakers had come up from the States, and I knew none of them liked me just by the look of me. They think I'm a witch or something, or just a weirdo. So no one in that area talked to me. And so I looked at her outside of the house one day, and she looked about 90-ish, and I'm thinking, I can't tell this Bible Belt lady, who's hiding behind bushes in her house, about this kid. I just thought, I can't tell her. Just by sizing her up, it could have killed her or something, too, and she wouldn't have believed it. And I just sort of thought, no, this isn't a good thing. But the good part of it is we established a relationship. He wouldn't leave. But whenever friends came over, I noticed he would actually, if it was a guy, he would like, one night he actually, mid-afternoon on a Sunday, he started shaking the sugar bowl, literally vibrating, and the lid was flipping up and down. And this relative of mine put their hand on the bowl and went, oh, what is that? And since they took their hand off, it was shaking again. Then they knocked in the kitchen, inside the kitchen cupboards. Obviously, they didn't like the guy, so he went into the living room, and I'm just like, oh, well, I can have a cigarette now because I don't smoke around people that don't like smoking, so I had a cigarette. And what he did was, he obviously didn't like this person. I had a trunk. I had this trunk sitting in the corner, and he actually started shaking something inside the trunk. And the guy goes, oh, you got a really bad ghost here. This is the fourth time he's bothered me, or it's bothered me. And he said he wanted to leave. Then my son was there in the kitchen just ignoring it because he's used to these things going on around me. So my son came out and he says, I'll help you. And he says, let's take the trunk out by the door and whatever's in there will run, right? And I'm thinking, I just sat there with a cigarette in the kitchen or stood there going, I felt totally calm. I knew who it was, obviously. And I thought, there's nothing in that trunk. I guess he's trying to scare the shit out of them for some reason, right? So they both dragged the trunk to the door, opened the door, opened it, and there was nothing but the Christmas tree in there. And they said, oh, it's got to be a raccoon. It was getting louder and louder, the thumping inside. And it was nothing. It was just a tree. So it was just a tree, and I'm like, that's funny. I'm like standing in the kitchen kind of laughing, right? But they laughed, And then another time, I was standing in the kitchen, and a friend of mine that I'd done house clearings with, at that time lived in the area, and she dropped by, and she said, there's a man standing behind you. And I went, really? Because she's one of the people that really does see spirits all the time. And I said, oh, is he still wearing his, Bert and Ernie type of T-shirt and, military clothes? And I said, dirty blonde. And she goes, yeah, how do you know? I went, oh, I've seen him all the time, whatever. But that was confirmation for me that I wasn't losing my marbles, right? Then she said, it's really odd. Now he's pacing outside on the front porch, right? Because you could see him from the picture window. But I just said, it's no problem. But he didn't seem to like her much. After a while, when she was there, she wanted a reading and stuff, he started knocking on the cupboards again in the kitchen, because I used to sit in the kitchen a lot and do readings. Yeah, so it's kind of cool. But he never would go to the light or, pass on. He felt that, that was his thing. He wanted someone to ask her forgiveness.
Did you ever meet the grandmother? Have any contact with her?
Saw her at the end of the street, looked in, and, sort of sized her up, and she was like a real recluse type person. Looks quite depressed. She was in her 90s, and they're all really religious Bible Belt. They wouldn't believe in this kind of stuff, how would you approach it? Hey, just talk to your grandson. Hey, I thought the trauma alone could have killed her or something, and I just felt it was the wrong thing to do. I could not, and I told him.
I would have told Spirit. Earthbound, apparently, that why don't you just get your higher self to tell her higher self, and everything will be fine. Because clearly, and I have no doubt about this in my mind at all, when she dies, she has by now or whatever, there will be instances, nothing to forgive. You know what I mean? And again, you guys have heard me talk about my ideas about suicide. You know what I mean? It's nothing to forgive. It's just another way to cross over. And and we don't give nearly enough compassion to, we all think it's fine if somebody's suffering through a terrible physical disease, that they should be allowed to end their own suffering through, through a doctor or whatever, right? And and in many jurisdictions that's not possible. So then who could find fault with somebody who's in such agony and distress? Who nobody would find fault with that. And indeed, people pat themselves on the back for helping to put cats and dogs down because to end their suffering. And so the one area that we continue to fall short on is failing to see and validate that emotional and psychological illness is that somebody's suffering from is equally as is to be given the same consideration, and so that if somebody were to end their life as a result of mental issues, illness, psychological, emotional, however you want to define that, to me, there's nothing to forgive. And indeed, it's my opinion that if we have a blueprint and a life path and even if we have to go to God or the Creator or whatever to get the rubber stamp approval before we come here, then it's already been given. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
it's true. I think part of it, and maybe even a mindset, like you're saying, of people, because my cousin committed suicide, and for years he was on, I guess, Earthbound or whatever you call it, and he oddly enough, he planned his suicide very well. I didn't know he had, and I thought it was his only attempt, but it was his third attempt. I found out after he died, of course. But he was in the UK, and he'd never been to Ireland, and he booked a trip to Ireland, which is kind of odd. And he ended up going to relatives he'd never met, and he asked several of them, "Do you love me?" Which is kind of odd, And this is when I found out after he'd passed, right, which was like kind of sad. So when he started coming through, if you remember that show Journey, he kept coming through in that show several years after he had died. And then I started like seeing him out of the corner of my eye occasionally. And but what happened basically was he had killed himself. He had been in a hospice for ages because he tried killing himself, he tried drinking himself to death, whatever. So he was, like you said, in torment, physical pain, emotional pain. And something I didn't know was he told someone on the Journey show one night that he was gay, and as a Catholic he couldn't live with himself, and he thought that was one of the worst things he could have done to God. So he thought that he wouldn't be able to pass, right? So he basically did cross over, and occasionally now he comes back. But he thanked me because he said if he had known that I did love him, even though I'd only met him a few times in my life, and I used to call him, he'd call me. But he said if he'd known that I had loved him or if someone had loved him, he wouldn't have possibly done it at all. But it's in hindsight. And every now and again he'll drop by and say to me, well, if you ever speak to your mother again, you can tell her this. You know what I mean? So he knows what's going on. And he sort of plays with my cat sometimes and things like that. Like my cat will follow him and then walk into the wall because he's like chasing him or whatever. But it's kind of interesting. But yeah, I don't think there's any fault given. It's maybe in our mindset that we think we're not worthy, and then it keeps us here. Or like I say, the weird story I told you a long time ago is when I went with that woman to do a house clearing in Oshawa, the woman had caused it. I realized it was her mindset. Her father was in the house, and but it had brought in other entities as a result of this woman. And I could see the dog on the bed. I could see the father's figure coming and going. Then I saw the grandmother come in, and then went into the son's room doing Reiki. And the son hadn't been out of bed in about 6 months. He was suffering from depression, but there's all these orbs around his room because my friend brought a camera. It was really creepy. I mean, in that sense. And the daughter ran up the stairs and said to me, I left home because there's shadow things on the stairs and at the top of the stairs that try and scare me all the time, right? And I could feel the ice cold, but I didn't tune into the negative stuff. But eventually when I talked to her and I said, like there's the Shih Tzu dog on the end of the bed who had passed, and I said to her, why are you punishing him? And she basically sort of said, I pray every night that he goes to hell.
Oh, my.
And I realized that's what's keeping him stuck, obviously, right? And then at one point, a rosary turned. She had this gigantic rosary. They were Portuguese and Catholic. And the cross flipped over and faced the wall as I was doing prayers and putting Reiki into the room. And, the woman I went with started to get out black candles and do, like, black magic and witchcraft, which I didn't know she was into. And she goes, I'll get rid of them for you, which was a bit absurd. But I realized I just got all this information at once. Like, you have to honor this man. He's Catholic. He, whatever. But it was basically I talked to her, and she said, no, you want to see all the beating and the marks on my body? And I just sort of went, I just said, I think you should see a therapist, and, you've got to get over it, right? Because she was basically asking for that, right? It came to the realization that she was causing all the manifestations. And the others that were coming in were actually trying to help him, And he was sort of stuck for some reason. But, yeah, it makes it kind of like you really wonder sometimes, right? But, again, it's the mindset. He believed somehow, I guess, with her prayers. And I guess the pain that she had, like you were saying, like you shouldn't mess with spirits if they don't really want to be around. But you shouldn't mess with their afterlife either, maybe, you know, like they can't rest in peace unless things are settled in some cases. You wonder. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Interesting.
I think it could weigh them down.
Yeah. There's so many different reasons, right? Why they might get stuck, and you know, and again, like I just think like that anybody who, you know, anybody who's concerned due to, you know, suicide stuff, like I wish that there could be a way that could be alleviated for them. You know what I mean?
It's true, yeah. It's totally unfair because, I mean, like, depression alone, certain, like, I mean, most depressions, you're in agony anyways, like a physical pain as well as, you know, the mental torment. It's almost worse than physical in some cases, you know, like, you look at all aspects of abuse, you know, that I've been through in my life, physical, all that. I'd say the emotional is the one that stuck the most and is the hardest to release in physical, for me anyway. So I think maybe with spirit, you know, if you drag them down physically, you know, that you're keeping them stuck or whatever. Even I think sometimes, like, when people ask for a reading, I won't ask specifically for a person because I don't want to get them stuck either. Like, if they willingly come in, that's fine, but I don't think you should mess with their life either, living or dead.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's bizarre about that cross doing that, though. You know what I mean?
It was. She actually put it on, like, I actually put it on my Facebook page, too, that, I mean, I don't know if we got the actual, she took pictures of everything. And, but yeah, it was really odd. It was around that time that the mother made her presence known. I guess smelled the perfume first, and then I saw her at the other side of the room. It was like, And then it made it even worse that the woman says, she started lighting a black candle, getting this basket out and saying, I'll light a black candle and I'll open the window and release him. And I'm like, oh God. And I said, stop it, you know. And I actually couldn't feel my legs at one point, and I dropped to the floor, and when I stood up, I said, what was the thing about the legs? And she said, he had both of them amputated before he died. And I'm like,
geez.
Okay, now I've just got his body through me, right? But I literally felt it. I couldn't feel my legs. But it was like, it was really horrifying. There was even a point when my Bible had a little burn hole in it. And I didn't even know why I brought a Bible. Yeah, like something told me at the very last minute. She called me about an hour or two before she had to go to this thing, and she realized she was afraid to go for some reason. And like you're saying about earlier, this woman was like a junkie for mediums. She was constantly calling this woman for readings or email readings or something, right? So, but the saddest part, this is the saddest part of this. She told me, I said, what's this about the dog? The dog is sitting on the end of the bed. And she goes, I love that dog so much. So she had him stuck. So I get downstairs and into the kitchen, and she's telling me all about her Tide coupons, and all of a sudden this dog runs up from the basement. Cute little dog. A little hairy dog. I don't know what kind of dog it was. And I went into the kitchen and sat down. Couldn't stand the woman's energy after that because she was like, hitting me and look at my back. You want to see my scars? I'm like, no, not really. You know, because she wanted help to remove them, but she didn't want to listen to any. But the dog came up to me and was actually begging me to take him home. He was so horrified. He was actually speaking to me, communicating. The woman goes, what's he doing in here? He's always hiding in the basement, that dog. And I'm like, any wonder? You got this loving dog on your bed? That's probably scaring the hell out of him. You know? You got all these entities all over the place, right? And darkness and all this really strange shadow things. And this house was buried over an Indian kind of burial ground. They don't have a lot of respect in Oshawa for where they, because it was like a native port at one time. But they just built all their townhouses and stuff over it. So that was another thing I noticed was kind of happening at the same time with this house. But again, it was a woman, like causing to be stuck. Yeah.
And I guess, and there's some that'll remain stuck forever, I guess. Like, I can't imagine why that would, and to me, that's hell. You know what I mean? Like, I guess that's what the Catholics or whatever would call purgatory. if you had to make an equivalent of it. But, like, that would not be satisfactory. Corrine wrote a really lovely little short story that is really dealing with, those that are on that earth plane, like, still stuck. And, it's not, it doesn't look like a very pretty picture, and, I can't imagine that it would be, a good, that it would be, satisfying in any way, shape, or form.
It should be stuck, right? Because that's actually what I thought, because you can't move on at all, like in the other, or even reincarnate. But I remember seeing the film. I don't know if you've ever seen it, the Seven Signs, or the Seventh Sign. Yeah. And at the very end, the guy was supposed to be like the devil himself or something, right? And he was a priest, and he actually, what was a profound statement for me was, because the worst thing in life was to not be able to die.
Right. Yes,
and
exactly.
Guys, and I just went, oh my gosh, yeah, exactly.
That's sort of like, that's like depicted in like some vampire stories and stuff like that too, right? It's because all the people that you, even if you have close attachments with people, like they age and go on and die, and you just keep getting stuck. You just keep staying, and so you have to lose that, that many people, and never, you know what I mean? Never get to start over. Like, can you imagine, like, never get to start? Like, I guess, like, maybe if you were the happiest person on earth and a billionaire and all of your needs were met, then that would be, but it would also not be good unless you had somebody else that you were happy with, that you could be forever with, and so there's, like, for me, that would be like, staying, I mean, how much kids, they always want to, grow up or whatever so fast. And then when we start getting older, we're all like, oh, I wish I could be a kid again. But, like, no one would really want to, like, although it would be nice to be able to go back and be like that, be as strong and fit and everything that you were when you were younger or whatever. Like, there's still other things that you aren't getting to experience by virtue of never growing up, right? And so, it's anything I would, I would not want eternal life. Now, you guys know me. I'm like, I'd be good with 60. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be 70 or 80 or 90 years old. I don't want that. I can't imagine never dying. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not interested in that day that comes when science has done such a thing, that would allow us to do that, is to have eternal life. Like, that would not be good at all for me.
No, I think they should have options for that one, because even they say that potentially you could live to 150 with medical science now, and transplants and stem cells, and I'm thinking, I don't think so, like, I'm already worn out, I was worn out at about 35, so it's one of those things that's like, hopefully, getting tired at this point,
Yeah.
But I couldn't imagine that was the most profound part of the whole film, that say, the Seventh Sign, because it was like, wait a second, there's all these, like, the sea turns red, like it was probably the end of the world, supposedly, but when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, yeah. Can you imagine not being able to die and not being able to move on? Because that's it, every day you hope there's something better, but for this guy, it was nothing, right? There is no better anything, right? It's just a repetition of the same thing over and over. Sort of like Groundhog Day, I guess.
And it, like, being earthbound would be like Groundhog. At least if you had eternal life, every day is still going to be different. You know what I mean? But, like, I can't imagine, like, earthbound forever. Oh my God, how awful would that be? Like, especially if it was like this void of sound and dark, and you know what I mean? Like, no.
Yeah, most people can't communicate with you if you're or whatever. If you're stuck on this plane, the same plane, it would be not just monotonous, but there's no joy to it. I can't imagine. I guess that's the purpose of being stuck, right? I mean, there's no joy because maybe people believe that's what they deserve for their penance or something, or.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's possibly why some of them get. And go ahead, Diana.
Oh, I was just going to say, do you ever wonder if there are some spirits that are still here that really aren't stuck per se, but maybe for whatever reason they want to hang around for a while? I myself, I can't really imagine why. And let's say we're trying to help someone they loved, that they weren't able to do when they were still in the physical body. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh,
it's just,
I've got quite a few relatives that hang around or come and go that have already. So, like, my stepfather was one, and his mother, actually. When she passed, she didn't go over completely till 6 years later because there was a court case about her, about her life. Like, everybody wanted her money. Mm-hmm. And she had something like 6 sons and a daughter. And she wanted the one son that was more disabled to get the money, right? Or what was left. And so it was her 6 years. And at one point, just before the 6 years was up, I used to sort of sense her, but she totally appeared beside my bed. And I thought it was my daughter trying to wake me up. This was years ago. My daughter was about 2, and I thought this little cold hand on my arm was waking me up. But I looked over, it wasn't my daughter, and I looked over, and there's my sort of grandmother standing there in the dress I had her buried in. I was 19 when I chose what she should wear to die with. It was her favorite dress. But anyway, she's standing there 6 years later, and I thought, oh, and I actually, mind to mind, started talking to her automatically because I'm asleep or half asleep. And then I realized I couldn't see her reflection in the mirror. And I got scared for a second there. And then she asked me, this is the interesting part about ghosts, right, or spirits. She asked me if she could see Jason, my son, because she had seen him before she passed. He was a little baby, right? And I used to take him to the nursing home. So I had to go into the room and turn on the light and show her my son, which I thought was really odd. Like this, she could see me, but she couldn't see him or couldn't perceive where he was, which was just next door in another room. But so anyway, what happened though was the court case came about, and all of a sudden the next day after I saw her, she kept saying she was worried, she was troubled, and then could she see my son, and then she basically disappeared. So when the next day I get slapped with a subpoena to go to court on her behalf as a hostile witness, and I was supposed to be a hostile witness. So anyway, when I got on the witness stand, I actually said word for word everything she told me. She was in the courtroom, and this sounds absurd, but the son that she was concerned about, he was stone deaf. He actually could smell her, but he couldn't see her, and he kept whispering to me like, "Mom's here." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." Anyway, so about a week and a half later, after the court case, they won, and everything I said on the stand and my stepfather said on the stand won the case for them. So anyway, what happened was she appeared in full daylight in a parking lot. My daughter saw her, my son saw her, and we all just like what's that old lady doing with this kind of wintry coat in the middle of spring, summer? And then she had this little shopping bag. She was very old, right? And she was a Cockney from England. So anyway, what she did was her head did a 365 spin and turned around and looked at us. And my son was like, oh. And he was about, I don't know, 6 or 7. But he was like, ah. And my daughter burst out crying. She was about 2, right? And they saw this old lady who was walking, like toddling along real slow, and all of a sudden the head did a 365 turn and smiled and thanked us, right? And I knew it was her way of saying thank you, goodbye. But the weirdest thing was I still couldn't get the concept. So this car comes along in this parking lot and ran her over. But she was gone at that point, right? But she'd done her spin of the head, smiled, thank you. And then bang, and I'm like, so and the funniest thing was I go into the nearest Crazy at that time, which is before they closed, coffee shop, and I went and sat down, and I'm shaking because I'm like, oh my gosh, she actually came back. I didn't want to talk to my kids about it because I thought you don't want to talk to kids about ghosts and stuff. But I sat there, and the woman said, I'll be with you, and then I'm busy, and then all of a sudden she came straight back, and she goes, oh my God, dear, you look like you've seen a ghost. Exactly. I said to her, you don't know the half of it. You don't know the half of it.
Reminds me of Kitty Bird. I taught a putty tat. I did taught a putty tat.
A real live putty tat. Yeah, I know. And it was like, so she literally got me a coffee right away and gave me a ton of sugar, the whole thing of sugar, like the whole thing or whatever, the sugar, like, okay. And then my son just sat there in shock, and my daughter's still sort of partially crying, It was like, I finally got my head together, and I think I said to my son, did you see that? And he went, yeah. But she never came back until my son was 16, and she occasionally visited him when he was about 16.
Was he okay with that?
Yeah, he'd say, I saw her in my dream, and she took me to, her old house and stuff. And I'd say, what was she doing? She told him to go to the back of the, to the back of the room, which is where she'd put her youngest son because I had a big house and they only had a room in the basement for their youngest. So she wanted him to go and sleep in the basement back room. He wasn't aware that, the youngest son had to go back in that room in the basement. Anyway,
did he remember her from earlier?
Pardon?
Did he remember her from earlier?
I think he did, because he didn't remember her as a baby. He was like 10 months or 8 months when she died, right? So I guess he remembered, because he said to me the next morning, it was like, I saw Grandma last night. And I'm like, really? And he'd tell me the whole story. So I never really asked him, how did you remember her, right? Because, it wasn't something like you take photo albums out and this where she is, but I never really talked about her. Yeah, but it was one of those, it was just a knowing that he had that it was her, and it bothered him a bit for a while, but then it was like, oh, it was okay. She just comes around sometimes, and she shows me these places, right?
Did your daughter ever ask any more about that appearance that she made in the parking lot?
No, my daughter has always been, she was always really quiet, and so she's never mentioned it, and she doesn't really like the fact that I do this kind of stuff. Even though it's convenient for her, if she loses things, she'll actually call me and say, can you find it? And I find it, I actually fly through her windows. Yeah, it sounds really bizarre. But I go to her place in England, and I will find whatever she's lost. One time it was her passport, and she had to travel the next day for her job. And another time it was a gold watch. The last time it was a necklace about a week ago, and it hasn't appeared yet, but I know where it is. But I was dead on. I said the Dorchester. And that's the place where she went for the night. Her husband was the Dorchester. But she lost a gold necklace, and she gotten it back yet. But, I can do that, which is kind of odd. I sort of go through her window and kind of fly through, and I can actually see the essence of my, like a spirit going through the window. And I'll actually describe to her what her flat looks like, even though that first time I had never seen it. And the second time I went through, I hadn't even seen it physically. But I said to her, why don't you have curtains? So when I went back, find another object, I said, gee, you've got curtains and there's a few paintings on the wall. And she was kind of freaked. What do you mean? How do you know I have paintings on my wall? Well, you asked me to go and find the, watch, and I found it, and I was asking her, why do you circle the trunk? And she goes, how do you know I circle the trunk? Because I described her room, and I was circling in my own energy, going all over the place, and then finally going, okay, this is where it is, for items or whatever. But it sounds bizarre. But I was actually surprised how I could actually see the essence of me going through the window, having never been to the place. It's like your energy is attracted, I guess, to where you just tune into.
Yeah.
Which is bizarre. Yeah. So yeah.
Dianne has enough, you should fill a book, you know what I mean? You could fill a book with all of your stuff, Dianne.
I know. The weird things that I for years I couldn't talk about it because people were, are you crazy or what? I don't believe that stuff, or that's a crock of shit. A lot of people tell you.
Have you started writing them down?
No, I've never really written them down. I mean, not those particular. I mean, there's so many things, I guess, that I never really thought of as, I thought it was weird, you know what I mean, or different, and so I thought, no, it's not a good idea. I think when I was a young kid, I used to write it down. My mother would destroy everything and just, throw it away. I guess it spooked her or something. And so eventually I just stopped writing about it, kind of thing, right? But I've never, I did have 23 books of just notations of things. But, I should really keep things, but I'm not really into collecting. Like, I'll write stuff on paper, and then I had a collection of 23 books of just different experiences, and then threw them out when I moved because I went, I sort of got it out of my system.
Give some thought to writing some of these stories down, because I think, one, it would help a lot of people ease their fears. You know, they'd realize, okay, some of that weird stuff that I experienced, other people have had that, you know, or I can relate to what she's going through. And I think once you get started doing it, I think you're going to think of things that happened ages ago, and it's just going to be flowing out of you.
Yeah, probably, because I know people that have actually known me for years have said, oh, whenever I'm bummed out, they'll go, hey, you know, you did this and this and this. And I'm like, really? Oh, yeah, I did. You totally just forget about it, right? It's like, oh, really? Oh, wow. That's amazing. You know? It sounds like another person, right? Because I don't find it like, I guess it's not something like, you know, you're an actress and you're famous or something for this, or that it's notable. It doesn't seem notable to me. It just seems like life, right? But, yeah, it probably would be interesting to, because I know I thought I should write, you know, the paranormal as normal. To me, that is my normal from birth, I think. I remember it being 2, and my mother would say, shut up all the time. My father would go, come over here, what did you just say? And it was, you know, Grandpa said this, who I'd never met, and, you know, Uncle George said that. But because no one spoke to me, those, you know, even now they don't usually speak to me. But, you know, I was constantly hearing and seeing these spirits, which I guess most kids do, but for me, being kind of isolated, it was my best friends, right? You know? So I guess I always had that, but I didn't know why. I sort of thought it was like a blessing in disguise. It's like when you're kind of alienated by your family, other dead families step in or something, right?
Yeah.
And assist you and guide you, which is what I found. I was sort of, I wouldn't say raised by wolves, I sort of say raised by ghosts, maybe.
Well, it sounds like they help you, and that's what family is. That's what counts.
It's true, because I think of, you know, when I put together my life, I remember people saying to me, you're very classy. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, if you ever met my family, you wouldn't know that. And where did I get it from? Oh, yeah, the dead people were pretty nice. You know? I took on their ways and stuff, right? But it's kind of interesting, yeah. It is kind of funny. It's like, you just slipped out of the room. I'm like, yeah, that's what my family does, right? But it is kind of interesting. Like when I took the classes, I was kind of disheartened because a lot of people said in the class, like, you're a natural. Like they'd have to sit there and go like that meditation class or where you had to learn to be a medium. It would come to me, but then the guy says, you really don't want to use this like as a job, and I'm like, not really. I never thought of it that way. I like doing it because it's, you know, interesting, and to expand it was good. But for me, it's not something I really want to do. I guess because when it's an everyday thing, you know, like this isn't really a job, you know, or it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it might help. Your accounts might help some people kind of get in touch with their own experiences with that type of thing, with spirits.
Yeah, I probably would. I know, like, when I had at one point, some young kids that used to ask me all kinds of questions, and it helped them. They'd bring their friends around, you know, and sort of say, oh, I've experienced that too, or I've seen things, but I didn't know if, you know, it was the drugs, or it was just me, or, you know, young kids, right? They'll tell you. But, yeah, it would probably help. Because I really did think when I had these young teenagers asking about it, that it would help to actually write, you know, some book about the supernatural being totally natural, if you really think of it. Because I don't find it to be supernatural. I think it's just natural life.
Right. Exactly right. Like, paranormal is like the new normal, you know, that's like the new normal. What's normal? You know what I mean? What's normal? Anyway, what's normal?
Exactly, yeah, because you got your visible and invisible in whatever world, but, yeah. Sorry to keep you time there.
I don't think this stuff happens more. I just think that it becomes every day, it becomes easier and more acceptable to talk about. And so therefore, you know, seems like there's more incidents of it, but it's not really, you know. And
yeah. I think what it is too is the mindset. Like you're saying, like more people, if it's more, the more accepting it is, or acceptable, the more people are less likely to discount when they see things. Because everybody, you know, I tend to do that, is look for a scientific reason, like was I smoking when that big thing appeared, you know, whatever, right? You know?
Right.
Or we've got this picture that is so absurd. My father, who we hadn't seen in 22 years, and he came over from England at one point, and there's a picture in my sister's living room. Like we had a picture taken, and I thought it was cigarette smoke, but there was like an entity sort of sitting beside me. There was no one smoking. I remember we put it out before the picture was taken. There's literally a hand of a ghost on my shoulder. There looks like an arm going around from my father's, where my father was sitting beside me, around my back as well. And then there was stuff above, like not orbs, but actually you'd make out features of people, right? And I brought it to a photography shop because it was the camera days, right? And the guy blew it up so many times, and then he shrunk it down, and he goes, it's definitely not of this world, and it's definitely not a trick or a mistake of the camera. It's an actual dead thing, or something, right? Like he could tell that no matter what he did, it was still there on the thing. But I guess it was like a family reunion with all the spirits there too. But it was like, wow, pretty cool.
Yeah. No, and I just think like that. Who's the first person that called it abnormal is probably some Bible pusher. You know what I mean? Seriously.
Well,
like I feel like this stuff is natural and has been meant to be natural all along. You know what I mean? Not supernatural. Seriously, who was Noah talking to? You know what I mean? And who was Moses talking to? And, so anybody who can hear God, why can't you hear any other spirit? You know what I mean? And what's wrong with it? You know what I mean? To me.
True, yeah. Yeah, I think there's some people who are indoctrined into closed-mindedness, as I kind of call it, is when they go to a church and they go, oh, you're not supposed to do that, that's demon stuff. Or I've got friends that are just born-again Catholics recently who tell me if you're into astrology, that's the devil's work. If you're into, anything that I'm into, it's all the devil's work. And they try and save my soul, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but, I don't really need your help kind of thing, right? They're so closed-minded about everything, and I'll say, haven't you ever seen things? Oh, no, it's a figment of my imagination. I've never seen anything. And I'm like, okay, fine. You want to shoot it down, right? Then.
I really feel like that the Bible's full of, of things, and again, it's men, back in men who have done all of this that have used religion to put fear in people and to take control of people.
It's both. Yeah.
That's what it really boils
there was
down
something
to.
taken from the Bible. I don't know if you ever heard of it, the Gospel according to Thomas. It was a piece that was taken out by, is it the Anglican or Catholic Church? And Thomas literally Jesus supposedly talked directly to Thomas and said that not only did he ascend into heaven, we all ascend into heaven, that God is within him, but God was within all of us. He was the Son of God, but we were all the Son of God kind of thing. So that would have empowered people. So they took all of that out. The reincarnation he mentioned, he didn't just reincarnate. Other people do too, like everybody does. So they took that away so that you couldn't be empowered, right? It's like they got to have the power and the authority over you to stop you from thinking or feeling you have any power over your own life, right? You've got to go to them for permission to whatever, or tell them about your sins, or,
it's all about control.
Right? Yeah. Which limits you totally, his thinking.
Well, Dianne, I'm so glad that you shared your stories tonight. Like I said, if you share your accounts on paper, I know it's going to help a lot of people, because just since you've been sharing, I feel one of my great uncles has been coming through, and I've not seen him since I was 4 years old, because that's when he died. And I'm thinking, okay, this could be a maybe he wants to communicate with me, so I'll have to work on that.
Sure.
So thanks for, I think you helped kind of give him the, I don't know what I want to say. I'm not sure quite why he's here yet because I just noticed him, but I'm excited about it. I think you're going to open some doors for a lot of people.
Well, let's see if you can acknowledge the fact that they're there and it's okay to be there and you're not afraid of that, you know, it's a cool thing.
Oh,
right?
yeah, he was one of my favorite uncles anyway, but yeah. I'd not seen him before, so it's really cool.
Yeah, that's why I found just like, it takes a lot to amaze me, but you know, like nowadays it's like one of my favorite uncles lived in England, and I used to go and visit. I went to his funeral, which is rare because I don't go to too many people's funerals, but I always admired him, but we always argued because he was so into religion, and he'd been a monk or something at one time before he got married. He ran off and married my aunt. But the interesting part was he came back after he died and sat beside me, and all the things we argued about. He'd say I was a heathen and I was going to go to hell and stuff, right? And I go, nah, I don't think so. So he actually sat beside me in his Sunday suit one Sunday, and he just nodded, and he goes, "You were right after all."
That's cool.
And that was so cool because I felt kind of bad. Like there was always that one person you really care about. You don't like to offend them.
Right.
In what you do. Like I didn't realize that was playing on my mind. And when he sort of sat next to me and I could actually feel his presence and actually see him and, you know, feel that same energy of, because he was a very quiet guy, but he, strong convictions about, you know, whatever. But it was nice, to get that confirmation that, you were right, I would say. You know, there's more to life than this, you know.
Yeah, it was very nice that he came back to share that with you.
Yeah, it really was, because that sort of was a bit more freeing, you know, because you don't really want to offend dead people, you know, or respect for them and all that, right?
Especially when they're one of your favorite uncles, you know.
Yeah, exactly, he was, yeah.
Tiff.
Yeah. But, that's... I think that's key.
I think he's excited that I recognized that he was here.
Well, it's true that that's what they really want is the acknowledgement that you know they're there. Like you sense them, you feel them, and then you hear them and you see them, whatever you experience it. It's like, it's a great way of connecting and, you know, resolving stuff or releasing stuff or even sharing stuff if you have burdens, you know.
Definitely.
Come around with that, yeah.
Awesome. Good. Okay, so is that good then, everybody? Or are we going to hang out for overtime, or what are we doing here, kids? Anybody?
Pretty quickly here.
You what?
I need to get going pretty soon, unless anyone had something else they wanted to touch on here.
No, that's good. Whether they want to hang out and just yak or whatever is cool. So hopefully by the next time we see you, you'll have that investigation to share with us.
I hope so, because supposedly there's been a spirit that's been in this one home for at least 6 months now. And most of the time it's not bothering them, but sometimes it gets quite troublesome, I hear.
Yeah, well, hopefully you guys can sort it out. Hopefully you can sort it out. Okay, well, we'll see you in 2 weeks then.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for letting me be here with you.
No, thanks for being here. We'll see you June 4th. And
sounds great.
Dianna, Rachel, both thanks for doing that. And so Corinne wants overtime. So, okay, everybody go find Dianna's website at psychicfrontier.com. We'll see you back here June 4th. And I'll throw on a song, and then we'll see where we go from here. All right. the opportunity to play some Billy Joel since Amy's not here. And, okay, so...
She can't stand them?
Yeah, she can't stand him. I always have to pay attention to that, right? I remember back in the day, I couldn't play, not G. Newton, for heaven's sakes, why does this always happen to me? My poor brain, you know what I mean? Fleetwood Mac, and Who's the Chicken, Fleetwood Mac. Who's the Chicken, Fleetwood Mac.
Stevie Nicks?
Yeah, I couldn't play Stevie Nicks because... Yeah, I couldn't play Stevie Nicks or Fleetwood Mac because of Nancy back in the day. So I have to be aware of these things, you know?
Yeah, I know, right?
Here, I'm going to wrap up I'm just going to wrap up the actual recording part of this. And, we're back on Wednesday with Kathleen. So we'll look forward to seeing. Thanks everybody in the archives for listening. Too bad you can't make it and be live with us, but we're glad you're listening there when you can. And we'll see you next